you'll see it launches a PDF, a different tab. So I can close that. We're still in the website here. So you've got for 6th grade and below, and then you've got 7th grade and above. Apple will distinguish when the tests are ordered and deliver the 6th grade and below form or the 7th grade and above form, because when the tests are ordered, their grade is entered into the ordering form. So that's for 2016 tests, and then for 2017, we've also uploaded the, we will be uploading the tests and topics shortly, actually. But that's there to show you that that's coming. If somebody still has their microphone unmuted, would you please mute your microphone? I'll remind you of that periodically if I hear it. Scores. Let me show you how you access information about scores in the Apple website. Again, we're at apple.org, which will take you there, or apple.apple.org. If you click on the scores page at the top of the screen here, it will take you to information about the scores, about scoring. From here, I recommend clicking on the sample Apple score report right here, which again will launch a PDF. We're hearing the background noise from somebody's microphone. I don't know if they can hear me, but if you can hear me, go ahead and mute your mic. So the Apple score report is comprised of 2 pages. One page is optional. The first page is a key and an explanation page of the score report. Page 2 is the individualized report that each of your students will receive. So this is the individualized page, page 2, and you see that we will return a separate score for interpersonal listening and speaking, which is the speaking component, interpersonal speaking, the interpretive reading, interpretive listening, and presentational writing. And we're giving not just a score, and I'll explain this a little further in a moment, but we're also giving a description of what it means to be at that level. And then we are additionally providing strategy to get to the next level. So let me explain what these scores mean and what this scale means. So the first page of the score report, which can be included or not, depending on your choice, is a key, as I mentioned, and it explains the levels, and then it gives this graphic here, which shows the AAPPL proficiency scale, novice, intermediate, and advanced, and it's broken down into 3 sub-levels for each range. It's novice, low, mid, and high, intermediate, low, mid, and high, and then the Apple test goes as high as the advanced low level on the AAPPL proficiency scale. These are the Apple scores, the Apple performance scores, and you'll see that they equate to the AAPPL proficiency scores. So you have N1 equates to novice low, N2 and N3 show the progress up through the novice mid level, and then N4 is equivalent to novice high in a crosswalk, and so on up the scale. And your form, you don't really have to worry about this because the state is ordering the test for your students, but so you know, the forms overlap, and Form A goes from novice, N1, up through I4, and again, here's that equivalent on the proficiency scale, and then Form B from N4 up to advanced. And again, as I mentioned earlier, that Form A has a 6th grade and below version and a 7th grade and above version that will be automatically directed for your student when the test is ordered, because the form requires that their grade be entered. right, so I'm going to close the score report sample here. And I also want to show you that the scale, the rating scales are available in full. So all those score descriptions explaining what each level means is available, and should also be a helpful guide for teachers to help them feel more at ease with what's coming. They can read the descriptions of what it means to be at each level, so they understand what their goals are and what they mean. These score descriptions are broken down into 3 modes: the interpersonal mode, the interpretive mode, and the presentational mode. The interpersonal is listening and speaking. That is actually the speaking component. The interpretive is the listening and reading, and writing, we're testing their presentational writing skills. A couple of other things I'm going to jump around to a little bit. Tips videos. This is a very valuable, I think, familiarization guide for students.
How is that for? Yeah.
Whoever is talking back there, you have your microphone unmuted so we can all hear you. So the tips videos. These are, again, familiarization opportunities for your students and your teachers. They can play these videos. There's one for each mode. The interpersonal mode explains how to do it, gives them some tips on using the record button and stopping it, how much to talk in the recordings. And then for reading and listening and writing, again, based on experience and questions that students have had, AAPPL created these videos to help put students at ease and understand what to expect. I want to show you the FAQs. Eyes probably roll when they hear the FAQs, but these FAQs were really designed based on feedback that we have received over the years, and the most frequent questions we really received. So they're concise, but they really address the most common questions we received. So detailed information about the test and what is assessed, and again, a lot of detailed information about the scores and reports, ordering questions. But what I really want to point you to is the technology section. Always important that your technology directors at each school campus should, of course, be aware that this will be administered at their school and be given the opportunity to review this technology section of the FAQ. So I highly recommend that you make sure that your IT directors, IT staff are given this well in advance of administering the test. Don't wait. Give it to them today. Give it to them tomorrow. Let them look at it. Let them run through the tech. There's a sort of a diagnostic system check that will allow them to see what's required and check each computer and make sure all the computers are ready to administer the test. You don't want to wait. You don't want to wait for the last minute to show them that. So again, that's on the FAQs page here. You can go to AAPPL.org and it'll take you here. Click on FAQs, scroll to the bottom, and there are all of those technology information pieces. And here's that Apple Measure system check. It'll actually check my computer right now and make sure that I've got everything I need to administer the test. Right, so, there's a lot of information on this site, as I said. Of course, we're not going to go into every single thing here, but what I want to do now is switch to the Apple Guide. Apple Guide is a new user's cheat sheet, if you will, on the high-level, most important things you should know if you're going to be administering Apple. If you're a teacher, a test coordinator, anyone who's going to be on the ground, in the trenches, administering the test, ought to review this. So we're just going to do a quick kind of summary and review with you here. So you'll forgive I ask your apologies in advance for reading some of what's in front of you, but I'm going to do it. So I'm going to give you a little walkthrough momentarily into the client site, which is where you will order, not order, but where you'll log in to get test codes. It looks like this, and these are the modules that you'll click on. I'll show you that in a moment. But the guide begins by giving you a link to your client site, and then now some of these things don't apply because in general your teachers won't be ordering tests. Some will order one-off individual tests, but for the purposes of Utah State Board of Ed, these tests have been ordered by the state, so you don't need to order them. But to administer the tests, you're going to want to click on Test Status, and that is in your client site. So your client site is going to be tms.languagetesting.com/client site. I've also given you just a shortcut here that will take you to a client site. You can actually just go to languagetesting.com/client. That's the best way to go about that, and there's the link to it. So once you're there, your teachers will or your administrators will click on Apple Test Status. I'm using a sort of a dummy account here. Oops. Give me just one moment because my demo logged me out for inactivity. So let me just grab that again. Right, so can everybody see this? See me moving my mouse around, I hope. You'll sign in to your client site. You can do it right. And you'll click on Apple Test Status. No, it doesn't tell you your status if you're an Apple Gold member or a Platinum or Executive Platinum, not that kind of status. It's just the status of your tests. You can click Search All Records and it'll show you everything, or you can set a date range. This is really your main dashboard. This Apple Test Status screen is pretty much everything you're going to need. And we're going to use this to get our test codes, and then later we'll also use it to look at test reports. So, but let's go back to the guide. I kind of want to go through this with you. I'm going to toggle back and forth between the Apple Guide and your client site, which is where you're going to manage your Apple tests. So, back to the guide here. Really really the first thing you're going to need to do, your teachers, your admins, test administrators are going to need to do is get your student test codes. And what you're going to want to do is, if possible, get yourself some Avery 5160 label sheets. Probably have all seen those little sheets of little stickers. What we did is we designed the system, make this really easy for you to walk around the room and just hand out these little stickers to the students and actually just stick them onto the side of the monitors, the computer monitors, just kind of sticking off so that the students can read their test codes and log in. So what you would do here is, right now we're looking at, if we're looking at tests that haven't been started yet, we could just simply click on print labels, and it will launch a little label for each student with their test username and password. So you can just print these out, hundreds at a time, 10, 20, 30, whatever you need. Peel each little sticker off, stick it on the side of the monitor, and the student will go to apple.actfultesting.org and log in with that code. And we give them a lot of chances to make typos. I think we've set it for 6 chances to make a mistake. So, usually if you log in with a bad username or password 3 times or so, you're locked out. We know that the students may have a few more finger errors there than more experienced adults, although kids are getting pretty good with their typing skills these days. Anyway, so they'll log in using that. Just a heads up also, many of our browsers now will make you click the allow button at the top to allow pop-ups. It'll block this print label screen from popping up. So just a little tip, heads up there for you. You might want to take a note about that. When you're printing the labels, a lot of times the first time you do it, nothing will happen, and you'll say, gosh, what is going on here? It's very easy to miss, but across the top there will be a little bar that says allow pop-ups for this website. You have to click allow. I'm using Firefox, and it did that to me, and I know Chrome will do it too, so just a little heads up for you there. Labels can be sorted by more ways than you can dream up. Someone had the question whether the labels can be sorted by class.
Hi, Wendy.
Hi, I'm so sorry to call you.
It's all right.
Whoever that is has not muted their microphone, so there you go. There's a
username that you gave us.
Cautionary tale. We all get to listen to her phone call now.
We're having no success.
It's having a world of problems this year, right?
I know. I think the problem is with the hyphenated name,
See if I
You
can.
never know if it's Kennedy hyphen crossed, if it's Kenneth crossed. I don't know.
Hello, please mute your microphone. Thank you. All right, there we go. Right, so you can have the system include the school. If you look over here, you'll see as I click school. Well, someone suggests I may be able to mute all calls. Let me see if I can figure that out real quickly here. If I can't figure it out really fast. I don't think I have the ability to do that because, well, if I can do it, I don't know how. So, in any case, it sounds like everybody's muted now. So you can add the school, have it show you that. You can sort by school by clicking on the heading there. You can sort by teacher, add in the teacher's name. You can really do almost anything you can dream up here. We've given you a lot of options. All right, so back to the Apple Guide, which is also my cheat sheet. Make sure I cover everything I want to cover for you. Couple points. You can view the status of your students' tests. So this is going to show you when their test was started. It'll show you if it's partially complete, if it's completed. If it's completed, you'll see a rating. So this is I3 in the intermediate range. So again, in your Apple test status, it'll show you whether the test has started, partially completed, or completed. Additionally, you have the option to listen to all of your students' spoken test responses right there as well. After the tests are completed, you'll see a little speaker icon, and you'll be able to click on that and listen to their spoken responses. Teachers will like that. And they can also read the written responses of the students. And you can also export test data. So teachers will only be able to see their own students' test results. Your test coordinators at the school and or district level, you'll be able to see all data for your school or all data for your district. And that's a good moment, since I'm talking about you test coordinators, somewhere along your hierarchy there, we are waiting for teacher information that we can link to teacher codes that we were given by the state. So the state gave us codes representing each teacher, or at least to create a, let's call it a slot, a testing access slot, a client site access slot for each teacher participating in the Apple testing program. But your teachers will not be assigned a code and will not be able to get their username and password and will not be able to participate in this program until you send us their information. So we are waiting for you test coordinators, I believe it's your test coordinators or your assessment directors there, to send us the teacher contact information, names, email addresses, I believe schools as well. I may have a colleague online who may on the line who may want to pipe in there and reiterate or correct any of my details. But you should know that we're waiting for this. I think somewhere along the line, someone either in your state, if not we ourselves, have told you that we need that information. So to date, we only have that information for 6 to 8 schools. So a lot of you have not sent that in yet. So please do send that in. If you have questions about that at the end, when we do questions, please raise them. All right. So back to the Apple Guide. Right, you can export test data as well. Very easy. Click Export to Excel. Click Open, and it will launch. It'll ask you whether you trust us. Say yes, and you'll get a nice, clean Excel sheet that you can do pivot tables, you can do pirouettes, anything you want there. Let's see here, where was I? All right, so we've covered demos, we've covered tasks and topics, we've covered scores, we've covered tips videos, technology, proctoring. All right, we're coming to proctoring now. So, proctoring. Actually, before I get to proctoring, I guess some people say I lied. Print score reports. When you want to print score reports, this is the only time that you're really going to need to go out of your Apple Test Status module. You're going to go to Print Certificates. Now, all of this is under your home screen here. So you'll go to Home, and you'll click on Print Certificates. your date and range, or your students' names. You could just put your start date, and it'll give you everything going forward. Or you can put a start and a finish range. And then from here, you'd have your 5, 10, 15, 20, 100,000 students lined up, and you can print your score reports en masse. You can select all, select them one at a time. And you can also, this is important, you can instruct the system to include that score review, score report overview that I showed you. And again, that is that first page that has that rainbow colored grid and all the explanations. So that right there is this. If you don't check it, then your score reports will only have this individualized page. If you check the box, it'll have both pages, and you can do that front and back if you want to be environmentally friendly, or 2 pages if you don't want to be. Let's see, do the score reports include grade or teacher yet for the student? I'm going to ask you to save that question for the end so we can get through all this. All right. Back to the Apple Guide. All right, yes, you can also see data graphs. We do have some graphs and charts here. Let me show that to you. So what you're going to do to see some of these graphs is you'll click on reporting. So this takes the data and it graphs it. Now we don't really have any data. I'm showing you a dummy page here, a demo page. We haven't populated one with a lot of nothing data. It's all real students, so I don't have anything to show you here. I don't want to show you real student data. But it's very simple. You click search, you set your date range, and it will graph your scores and ratings in the aggregate. So once you have data, I encourage you to, again, you click on home, click on reporting, set your date range for your data, and have a look at it. That's kind of limited because it doesn't really let you parse much more than that. Whereas, if you really want to have control of the data and be able to chart and graph it in a meaningful way that gives you control of it, I recommend exporting it to Excel, because that way you can filter and sort your data and look at just what you want when you want, rather than everything, which is what we give you in the reporting screen. All right, so I know that you're going to have some folks ordering onesie, twosie tests. We're not going to really go into that here because the purpose of this training is for big picture familiarization and administration of this statewide testing program. But for those teachers that will do the onesie, twosies, I'll just say, you'll go again to your main menu. You'll click on test requests. In your case, there will only be Apple, so you won't actually see this. It'll take you right into here. And since you'll already have your full-on account with all of your teacher information in there, your email will already be here. You'll tell it that you're going to proctor the test, and then to order Apple, you'll retrieve the order form. We call it the test request template, and it is a glorified spreadsheet. And you'll enter this information, and you'll see it says required for all the required fields. You're not allowed to make any changes. You can't delete columns. You can't add columns. But you can enter some custom field data if you want to. So that's how your individuals will order individual tests. I'm getting towards the end here where I'm going to take questions. I know you're probably chomping at the bit with questions. Almost there. Let's see. Right, proctoring. So here in the Apple Guide, which you will receive, you'll see the review of the proctoring agreement that is available here. So your test administrators will have questions about what they're supposed to do, and here's your proctoring guide. It's one page. Well, actually, it's a little more than one page. But it's pretty basic. It's nothing shocking here. You know, the students shouldn't have phones out, pens and paper out. They shouldn't be talking to each other. Your test administrator should make sure that the room remains quiet. You don't want to have a lot of background noise because our raters will be listening to the students' spoken recordings, and if there's too much background noise, they're going to have a hard time listening to the students that they're supposed to be whose speaking performance they're supposed to be rating. So important to keep the room quiet. Please do read this proctoring guide at your leisure. Again, it's in the Apple Guide, which is at apple.appl.org/apple-guide. I recommend you bookmark that or write it down. And then, again, that proctoring guide is available here. All right, we covered printing out the login labels and where to go to take the test, but here it is again, if you forget. And again, also that information about the labels is up here at the top. In case you forget any of that, this is a very helpful cheat sheet for you. Pretty much everything I've covered here on administering the test is here on the guide. And everything I talked about before that is here in the teacher and student familiarization section, right? So there's a video talking about Apple on the About page of the Apple website. Here's the Apple website. Again, let me show you the home page so you acclimate yourself. Again, this is the home page for Apple. I say apple.org because if you go to apple.org, it'll take you here. But there's a nice video for anyone who wants to get students excited about it, get parents excited about it, even teachers. This is Paul Sandrock, the Director of Education for AAPPL. He's a national figure in language education, and so he talks about it a little bit. I talked about the tasks and topics and scores, tips, the demos, the tips videos, the demos. This tells your teachers, administrators, and students everything I showed you at the top of this presentation. Also, the technology, that system check I showed you, I'll show you again. Checks my computer and makes sure it's ready to administer the test. That's there too. So if you didn't take notes, literally everything I've talked about is bookmarked here. It shows you where to find it. It's all here, everything I talked about. And all of the technology information that you should be sharing with your IT staff, your technology directors, and so forth. All right, I think I'm on schedule here. We're about 40 minutes in. We've got a solid 20 minutes here for Q&A. So please, without any further ado, feel free to, dare I say it, unmute your microphones and start your engines. Start your questions coming. I'm here to take them. Make sure you unmute your microphone, though, or I won't hear it. them come now. There must be some questions.
Very
But
good.
you don't have to have them. If you don't have any questions, that's fine. But
Hi, this is Carrie Newman Granite.
hi.
I was wondering, are the spoken and written responses still only available for 6 months after the test date?
Let me see if any of my IT colleagues are on the phone. Eric, are you on the phone? Or Latif? Latif, are you on the line? I know there was a question that came up. It was being discussed. I believe we are extending it to at least 1 year. So I believe that is the answer to your question. I know it came up, and I know that we are extending it. I know I heard that we are extending it. So I would say more on that in the future, but feel free to raise that again. But you certainly have at least 6 months to get an answer to that question. I know it's been discussed, and I did not get a definitive answer myself on that yet.
Thanks.
Sure. Other questions?
Yeah, our school is new to this year, and I've got a question about the written portion. Do the students type that? Is that keyboarded in?
Right. Yes, the written portion is only available online.
Okay.
It is keyboarded in. I personally am tasked with just providing this training, so I must say I don't know what is required of you there, but if you are required to administer the writing portion, if your students do not have any keyboarding skills, you might want to raise that with someone if they haven't been taught how to type in the language.
Yeah, that is my concern. So I'll try to find some information on that.
Sure. And, before I take the next question, let me just mention this. I didn't say it, and it suppose goes without saying, but let me put this up here. If you encounter any difficulties during the test, I will tell you 90+% of the time it's local. You might have a bandwidth crunch, where somebody else is doing something on campus and your bandwidth just took a hit. If bandwidth crashes, you might get some weird behavior in the test if all of a sudden your internet speed gets slow.
Okay.
9 times out of 10, the student can just be logged back in or log back into a test. Occasionally, it might be recommended to just try a different browser or close the browser and relaunch it. And you should always, check with local IT for support, because they're there and they can usually help you more quickly than we can. And most of the problems tend to be local. But if you're not able to solve it locally, please contact us at support@languagetesting.com or either of these phone numbers. And our operators are standing by 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. Next question.
Is there a recommended browser?
There is not a particular recommended browser. Apple is intended to work on all browsers. Of course, probably better to stick with the more common ones than something really outlandish, but you should be good to go on that front. Other questions?
Can I get clarification on, at the very beginning, you mentioned that there are 4 different areas that the kids are tested in, and each area is 20 to 30 minutes. Is that correct?
Right. So to clarify that, we don't stop the test at 30 minutes, and we don't time the test.
Yeah,
So
okay.
you have flexibility there, and it's going to vary. Some students will zip through it really quickly. Some students will be overly meticulous. very important that you watch those tips videos, because the tips videos, and that highly recommended that you have your students watch them, because this tips videos will help kind of your outliers on either end, especially students that tend to overwrite and overspeak, and they want to show so much that they don't have time to finish the test because they're writing a novel.
But I can expect 4 different sections of 20-ish minutes, is that right?
Yes.
When I'm blocking out my time in the computer lab, that's kind of my average.
Yes, that's a general recommendation, yes.
Okay, and do you usually do that over several days with each kid, or do you run them, what's the expectation?
Yeah, it's usually run over a couple of different sittings.
Okay.
And I think, keeping in mind fatigue, that's another good reason not to do it all in one sitting. 2 hours is a long time for the kids to sit and do all 4 components.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Someone just asked a question about presentational writing. Let's see if there's a way for me to bring that up. Oops. On presentational writing for Chinese, should the keyboards be converted to Chinese characters? So Apple is designed to use whatever utility you are using in teaching writing and keyboarding skills. So if you're not, and if your kids have never learned how to keyboard, well, you should probably raise that with your supervisor or coordinator if they don't know how to type in the language. But if they do, and if you teach it, then whatever you use, just turn it on and take the test. Next question. I'm going to ask if you would to speak your question because I'm going to lose my graphic here. I'll try and scroll up, but if I don't get to your question, please ask it verbally.
I do have a question about the teacher information. It asked for a teacher number, and I'm unaware if that is our cactus number or exactly what number that is.
Let me see if I have a colleague on the line and his microphone is on mute. Well, let me see if I can get him here. Hold on, see if I can get him to unmute his mic and answer that question specifically for you. That's a great question. All right. All right, so I have my colleague on the line. His name is Eric Hope Ross, and he's going to answer your question about your cactus. I think you said cactus code. Can you ask the question again, please?
When we sent in the information for our teachers to get their accounts, it asked for a teacher number, but didn't specify what that was. Is that our cactus number?
Yes, it is. Unfortunately, when that request was made, nobody told us that the teacher ID was called the cactus number, but yes, it's a cactus ID that you should be putting in there.
Good, that's what I sent. I'm glad to hear that.
So if you need to have access given to those people, just leave that field blank.
Eric, would you just instruct them exactly what they should be sending and to whom they should be sending it?
Okay, just go to PMO.
That's
language testing. That's Project Management Office. PMO at languagetesting.com.
So I'm going to repeat it. PMO as in Project Management Office. PMO at languagetesting.com. And Eric, again, would you explain exactly what information they should be sending?
Okay, there is a number of fields in there. It's the, hang on, let me bring one up here really quickly. It is the, I think it starts state, and then, before I speak, let me get to the
Eric, is there a form that they should have received?
yeah, they should have
It come out in an email.
for this.
All right, you should have received an Excel template for this.
Right, and it has district, school, teacher number, campus ID, first name, last name, email, and phone number.
Now, Eric, if they have not received this Excel template, who should they contact in order to receive one?
It would come from Julie. Julie sent an email from Julie Quinn.
All right, so Julie Quinn, I think you should all know how to contact Julie Quinn. If you have not received the Excel template with the teacher information that we require in order to link them to the Cactus codes, please contact Julie and let her know that you need one of those Excel templates so that you can submit your teacher information to LTI.
Correct.
All right, great.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, you bet. Eric, would you mind staying on the line for a moment?
Sure.
Great. All right, next question.
I have a question. I'm new to this. Are these tests online, or do they have to order them, and is it the teacher that orders them?
So I covered a lot of that during this session. Everything is online. Everything is online. The tests of all are being ordered or have already been ordered by the state, so you don't have to order them. What I showed today, what I demonstrated, was how to log in and get the test logins and passwords for your students, how to print out the little sticker labels to put on the monitors for each student to log in. If you missed any of that, or if any of it, if you need a reminder for any of it, please go here, AAPPL.actfl.org/AAPPL-guide. And that is a summary of every single thing I covered on this call. In fact, let me just put it up here so that it's easy for you to see.
Yeah, I got all of that part of it.
Okay, great. So
But
make sure you have that.
I just wanted to clarify, because when you got to talk a point about teachers and ordering, it got me confused.
Okay, right. So the part about teachers and ordering it was just because we've been told that there will be some, again, onesie, twosie, where teachers will be doing some individual ordering.
Okay.
And so that's just for that. But again, I didn't go into detail on that precisely because, this training is just for the statewide program.
Somebody else has a good question. He asked, is there going to be a link for the webcast?
That's a good question. I did not record this meeting. I did not press the record button. I'm going to be doing another one, and I will be sure to record it and make sure that you all get that. So my next one will be tomorrow, and it'll be recorded. I'll make sure you all get that. But again, your best bet, better than the webinar, because you don't have to sit through 40 minutes to get to what you want, or click the forward button and hope you click on the exact spot where I'm talking about what you need to hear. This Apple guide, this little baby right here, literally covers every single thing that I talked about, and you can get right to it without having to listen to my 40-minute droning on.
Okay, and then my last question, it has to do with the technology. Did the state send out to the techs in the different districts throughout the state the information for what we're going to need?
I'm sorry, would you repeat the question?
Did the State Office of Education send out an email to all of the technology directors and them about the stuff that we will need?
Eric, do you know the answer to that question, whether the state sent out tech information to the technology departments all around the state? Eric, are you there?
Sorry, I was looking. Yes, as far as I know, they have not, to the best of my knowledge, but in a conversation that I was having earlier today with David Soleil, he said that he was going to try to get us the tech contact so that we could try to set up some pre-testing to make sure that the connectivity is there point to point across all of the schools.
Okay. Great. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
This is Emily Sweeten from the state office.
Emily?
And hi, I just wanted to let everybody know that I have been recording this webinar, and I will have a link posted on our website.
Great. Thank you so much. And Emily, can I take your phone number? Maybe I can get that from you too.
Yes. Everybody else has it, so it's public information. 801-538-7730.
30. Okay, great. That way, if anyone contacts us and wants it, and we can send it to them too.
Yeah. Yeah, and this will be posted on the Assessment Director website, and then it'll probably be posted on, we're developing a section of our assessment website just for Apple, so we'll have it there as well.
Great. Thank you very much, Emily. That's really helpful.
You are very welcome.
I was afraid I would forget to hit that button, and lo and behold, I did. Looks like we have another question here. I have found the template from Julie Quinn, but not the email for me to create username and password. Right. Unless you're ordering some individual test unrelated to the state program, you will not be ordering any tests. You will not be creating usernames and passwords. You will log in and they will be there waiting for you because the state has ordered the tests for you. All right, and let me scroll up and see other questions. Feel free to fire other questions, though. We'll go for, it's 4 o'clock now. We should really stop, but if you have more questions, we'll go for another 5 minutes here.
I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us on this call today. Glad to have had the opportunity to share this information with you. Again, as Emily said, this webinar will be posted on the Assessment Director website and another location I know she mentioned. Again, I can't highly enough recommend that you get and bookmark the Apple Guide, which is located here. Everything I covered is on there. And I wish you all well and happy testing. Thank you.